So, we're about to come to the conclusion of the text, where Panchen Lozang is simply making his final prayer of dedication of merit. But I thought before departing from it, since he has made these reference to, but very, very brief and concise, references to the four yogas, and very, very briefly, tangentially kind of, how these four yogas map onto the five paths. Since we're obviously going to have very little time for naked awareness in these remaining few days, what I've done is I've just taken some excerpts from the chapters well into the book on the four yogas. Just a synopsis. There's a lot there, and it's very detailed, and we could have spent the whole 8 weeks just trying to unpack those 2 or 3 chapters on the four yogas. But I think that would not have been the best way to spend this time. And so I'll just share with you some excerpts which I think, to the best of my ability, capture the essence of these. Again, it's coming back to the same theme of path. Is there a path here? This Mahāmudrā path, is that a path? If so, what's it comprised of? What's the strategy? And it's very clear. The strategy is four yogas. And so let's look at these one by one, and I'm going to give the major emphasis, I'm going to give more detail to the first, not nearly as much detail as is there in the text when he really unpacks in great detail the small, medium, and great stage of the Mahayana path of accumulation and the 4 stages of the Mahayana path of preparation. There's a lot of detail there. I'm not going to go into that, but I will focus just now on the first of the 4 yogas, which Panchen Lozang has already cited Gutsamba, saying that first of the 4 yogas maps onto the first 2 of the 5 Mahayana paths leading to enlightenment, the path of accumulation, the path of preparation. Okay? So here are some excerpts, direct quotes from Naked Awareness. And all of this, again, I'll send you. It'll be on the website for this retreat very soon. So let's look closely at this, because this is your entry. If you don't achieve the first yoga, you're not going to achieve any of the rest. And if you don't achieve the small stage of the first yoga, you won't achieve any of the rest. So that's very important. Single-pointedness occurs when a contemplative focuses his experience without scattering away from the immaculate, vivid clarity and non-conceptuality of the mind, and remains single-pointedly in the stream of unified Shamatha and Vipashyana. Okay, there's a start. Bear in mind, there's mundane and super-mundane Vipashyana. There's Vipashyana of the first jhana, Vipashyana of the second jhana, third jhana, mundane. And one can say that to gain direct insight into the immaculate, that is to say the pure, vivid clarity and non-conceptuality of the mind, that is certainly an insight. Therefore, one can say you access that by way of Vipashyana, and here you remain single-pointed in the stream of unified Shamatha and Vipashyana. That's when single-pointedness occurs, the first of the 4 yogas. So, it's unavoidable that, then, if you're going to achieve the first of the 4 yogas, and the small stage of the first of the 4 yogas, there are 3 stages, then you have to have achieved Shamatha, because otherwise you don't have any unification of Shamatha Vipashyana. Therefore, don't skip Shamatha. There it is, by one of the greatest authorities, and yet nowadays Mahāmudrā is taught ever so frequently, with no reference to Shamatha. Or do a little bit, and now to get on to the fun stuff. Too bad, then you don't get the path. Path is inaccessible. That's what Karma Chagmé is saying here. It's not my interpretation. But now something very interesting, because here, once again, he's talking about achieving the Mahayana path of accumulation, the first stage of the Mahayana path of accumulation. And it should come as no surprise, he says, at the stage of small single-pointedness, there's small, medium, and great. At the stage of small single-pointedness, this first yoga, there are 4 applications of mindfulness. But now with a twist. Now with a twist. So the first, the application of mindfulness of non-compositeness. Non-composite, the non-composite, the unborn. A non-composite means unborn. The unbornness of the body. free of any thought of the body as being either clean or unclean. So if you go back to the foundational, it's always good to know that, because then you see this is in dialogue with that. It's acknowledging that, using that, and then transcending that. Right? So years ago, after I left the monastery, then I hiked up to Geshe Rabten and asked him, would you please teach me the 4 applications of mindfulness? He started he's going fundamental level, right in a close application of mindfulness of the body, and focusing on, monk to monk. There were, I think Gavin Kilty was with me, I think. He wasn't a monk, but very dedicated Rinpoche practitioner. So he joined me. Geshe Rabten, the monk's monk, was then teaching full close application of mindfulness of the body. And he said, now closely attend to your body. Look at the snot, and the blood, and the bone, and the marrow, and the pus, and the earwax, and the spittle, and the feces, and the intestines, and the liver, and the spleen, and the gallbladder, and the hair, to get a really clear sense, this is not something you'd really want to be attached to? To see the unclean as the clean? I mean, I could spend the rest of the 20 minutes, on this, but just very briefly, imagine you've got a place of really yummy food right in front of you, and any part of your body falls into it. A bit of skin, you dribble a bit of snot into it, some eye goo falls into it, one of your hairs falls into it, some dandruff falls into it, you piss into it. Now don't do that. Any body part, from the surface or the interior, that should fall onto the plate, let's imagine it's your companion's plate. They'll say, take it away. I got some hair in my soup, thanks. I got some of your eye goop in my soup. You spat into my soup. You sneezed into my soup. If anything comes from your body and lands in my soup, I don't like it, because anything coming from your body is impure. But I really want to have oral sex with you later. Hello. Did anybody see the logic there? Dinner and a date, right? So that's where it is on the the baseline. It's really to help the monks get over the hump of any kind of attraction to their own. It's not misogyny. It's not like, oh, women's bodies are disgusting. They are. But no less than the men's bodies. So we can be infatuated with our own bodies. And monks can do that too. There's some pretty handsome monks out there. And so it's getting over that. I linger. But here, on this level, he's going beyond that. He said, you've done that, right? You're overcome your coarse infatuation with the body. You're seeing the impure as impure. That's basic level, right? So you've gotten over yourself, the infatuation with the body, other people's body, your own body. Good, now let's go deeper. And now, what is it? You're seeing the body is free of any thought of being either clean or unclean. The body is not inherently unclean, and of course it's not inherently clean, right? Then you go into feelings. The application of mindfulness, now feelings. Which feeling? The application of mindfulness of taintless bliss, without thinking of feelings as being either suffering or joy, either sukha or dukkha. Because again, one of the 4 marks of existence, 3 or 4 depending on the list, is all tainted phenomena, stained phenomena, that is stained by mental afflictions, are dukkha. You say, no, not really. Not inherently dukkha, but not inherently sukha either. Right? And it's the mindfulness of taintless bliss that is genuine well-being and not simply hedonic. That's the second. Third, the application of mindfulness of the mind. We had body, feelings, now mind. The application of mindfulness of the mind, free of conceptual elaborations concerning the mind being either permanent or impermanent. Okay, baseline, you're struggling to overcome the tendency, the delusional tendency, to see that which is impermanent as permanent. Your body, your appearance, your identity, your relationships, your possessions, and so forth. We have this habitual delusional tendency to view things as being more stable, more enduring, more unchanging than they are. It gets us into all kinds of misery. He's going beyond that. When you come to the mind, you're cutting all concepts concerning the mind being either it's not inherently permanent, nor is it inherently impermanent. You see you're transcending the conceptual boxes here. Neither this nor that. That's the third. And then fourth, the application of mindfulness of phenomena, cutting off superpositions concerning the reality of nirvana. So now you're not going to reify nirvana without thinking of phenomena as either having or not having an identity. You're going beyond the conceptual constructs of phenomena, all types of phenomena, being either really there or really non-existent. It's a different strategy. There's no reference here to identify the object of negation and then beat it to death. Here we have all these categories: pure, impure, sukha, dukkha, permanent, impermanent, exist, not exist, and he's torching them all. He's breaking down all these conceptual categories so that you can see the ultimate reality of your mind as transcending all conceptual elaborations. This is Shantideva. Sounds like Mahamudra. This is Shantideva. It's classic Mahamudra, classic Mahayana. So without thinking of phenomena as either having or not having an identity. Not really having, not really not having. The meaning is that abiding in the space-like reality of emptiness. The meaning of that is, the meaning is that, I got it. The meaning is that abiding in the space-like reality of emptiness and luminosity is single-pointedness. This is the first yoga. The other ones must be fantastic. Up until single-pointedness, primordial consciousness that realizes the path has not arisen. Now that's very interesting. That this is Mahamudra. This is couched within the context of Vajrayana, with the six dharmas of Naropa. And so with what is the subjective awareness by which you're seeking to understand, to fathom, to realize the empty nature of your mind? You're seeking to realize that from the perspective of primordial consciousness. This is Mahamudra. This is Dzogchen. This is in the context of Vajrayana. In other words, you're not, from the get-go, from the very beginning, you're seeking to realize this from the perspective of very subtle mind. Not just shamatha. Right? And he says, to read that again, it's very powerful and enormously important for anybody who's concerned with the path, that abiding in the space-like reality of, up until single-pointedness, primordial consciousness that realizes that the path has not arisen, so that is not genuine meditative equipoise. So single-pointedness is the demarcation. This is when you enter the path. Thus, as subsequent appearances do not arise as illusions, that is, if you've not really dwelt in genuine meditative equipoise, realizing this from the perspective of primordial consciousness, then you don't have genuine meditative equipoise. And if you don't have that, then you cannot speak of genuine post-meditative experience. Thus, as subsequent appearances do not arise as illusions, there is no genuine post-meditative state. So you rest in the space-like meditative equipoise, you come out and you experience the illusion-like post-meditative state. By cultivating that meditation for a long while, your mind will turn away from the 8 mundane concerns. You'll get rid of outer and inner parasites. It's commonly stated that when you're really purifying your body-mind, parasites leave. Parasites leave. And on a very miniature level, do not think this is some high realization, but on a very miniature level, I've told it many times, when I finished my first set of 100,000 prostrations, of the Vajrasattva, it was odd, because I was coming right to 100,000, as if it's a magic number. Worms were coming out of my skin, literally, multiple ones. It was weird, and I'm not a very pure being, but at least I'm pure of those worms. Don't ask me what's still in there. There's a lot of purification to be done. But yogis speak of this very commonly. When I moved into Gyenchampa Wangdut's hut in 1980, this was years after I had my worms come out. That was back in 76 in Switzerland. But then I went back to India and I moved into Gyenchampa Wangdut's meditation hut. He is an incredible yogi. Lived on meditation pills for months and months with no food. Really, and I've heard Lama Zopa say of him that he achieved shamatha. Wouldn't be at all surprised. Lama Zopa had tremendous respect for him. He was really a yogi's yogi. And so he moved down to Geshe Rabten's. Geshe Rabten had moved to Switzerland. Geshe Rabten let Gyenchampa Wangdut move into his cabin, Geshe Rabten's cabin, which was really quite nice. And so Gyenchampa Wangdut moved out of his little cabin way up in the mountains. And he let me move into it. It was kind of like musical chairs. He moved down to Geshe Rabten's, he let me move into his. I was so happy. I was moving into the hut where a yogi had been meditating for like 20 years. And it was idyllic. It had a rhododendron tree right above it. It looked out on this vast view out over the Congra Valley. It was just idyllic. You take a photo of it, and everybody think, oh, I wish I could meditate there. Until I tried to get to sleep. And in the first night, I was sleeping in a sleeping bag. And in the middle of the night, my body was on fire with itching. And I looked with my flashlight, and with 30 bed bugs, 30, one bed bug will keep you awake. 30 bed bugs really catch your attention. And I know 30 because I picked them out one by one and put them in a cup. Suddenly, this wasn't so much fun anymore. And there's a whole story there. I'd just be wasting your time. But that went on for about 2 months. Every night pulling out 30 bed bugs out of my bed. So it was kind of challenging. That's not mentioning the rats, the fleas, and there were some mosquitoes. So I had lots of company. I had lots of sentient beings around, mother sentient being. But then I saw him sometime later after I'd been there for a few months, and I said, Ginla, how did you handle all those bed bugs? How could you ever sleep? He turned to me with this very happy smile and said, wet bed bugs. So he was a pure one, I was lunch. Yeah. So it makes really good stories though, really fun stories. So you will get rid of outer and inner parasites, and you'll be able to display supernormal powers, such as meditative manipulation and domination of the elements and so forth. When that happens, the qualities of single-pointedness have arisen. I find that very significant, because this is after, or in the same book as Karma Chagmé is saying, that when you achieve these high stages, don't get your expectations up, because you'll be the guru inside the egg, right? And then we might ask, well, okay, then tell us what really happens. That does become manifest. That's what he's doing right now. This is the Mahāmudrā presentation of the 5 paths of what actually does come up. With no reference here to garudas and eggs, and you've got them, but you can't show them. If you achieve this Mahayana path of accumulation by way of Mahāmudrā, and you're meditating on emptiness, there's no reference here to mastering the nimittas in the form realm. You can master physical phenomena, the 6 elements, and so forth, just by the sheer power of your samadhi and the fusion of samadhi with insight into emptiness. That's enough. You can manipulate them as if you were in a lucid dream. You don't need to know about nimittas in a lucid dream to start changing the so-called physical reality inside the dream. It's like that. You found a very direct route to gaining mastery over your physical environment. Right? That's what he says, and this is the Mahayana path of accumulation. So if they're up there on the hill, that's what we should be achieving. This is to be done, right? Achieve shamatha, meditate in your mind, realize the emptiness of mind, dwell in there, achieve the yoga of single-pointedness, and then see what comes up. And His Holiness commented years ago, hey, maybe it's time for us Buddhists to start showing our stuff. He said, we should have more people achieving shamatha and demonstrating these abilities. Because we have all these scientists who come attending to the Mind and Life conferences and many other conferences, and quite rightly, with no fault whatsoever, they're strutting their stuff. They're showing, here's our fantastic technology. Anton Seinering, I have only admiration for him. Here's our technology by means of which we showed, these quantum effects. And Richie Davidson, and here's our technology by which we know, the EG and this and this and this and so forth. They've got this great technology and they're showing their stuff. Let alone cell phones. This is showing the stuff. This is a manifestation of the cities of quantum mechanics, right? And they show everything. And then we Buddha show up at the table and we talk. And we show we have unusual brain waves. Woohoo! Wow, you got a lot of gamma. Wow, your left prefrontal cortex is sure activated. Never seen that before. Woohoo! Man, that's small potatoes. I don't care. I don't care how much gamma you got. I don't care what your left frontal cortex or your reptile brain is activated. Who gives a darn? Unless you're a neuroscientist, because that's your living. But why should anybody else care? Really? Where's the benefit of knowing this was the neural correlate of this and this is the neural correlate of that? I'm waiting for any useful information from the neuroscientist that actually helps somebody meditate more effectively. And I'm waiting happily, but I'm still waiting, So they're showing their stuff. That's good, no criticism. But if all the Buddhists have to do is, oh, you should have been there. Back in the 19th century, Dudjo Malingpa had 13 disciples achieve rainbow body. Believe me. You know? And back in Tibet, and in Bhutan, and But none of us Westerns, of course. None of us moderners, Western, Eastern, I don't care where you're from. Then we look like patsies. Like we got nothing to show, nothing we can really demonstrate that we actually have more than a good talk. So His Holiness said, hey, maybe it's time to really start showing. Not to show off, but just have some parity here. Because as we saw from that article, there's no parity right now. By and large, there's no parity in the dialogues between Buddhism and science. The scientists are totally dominating the show. It's their agenda. They set up everything. And it's all within their paradigm, by and large. And they pick from Buddhism, like, scavengers. They pick whatever they like. And the Buddhists are just hanging out hearing, give us another seminar about how brilliant you people are. It's kind of lame. And it's not their fault. They're showing their strengths. So where are our strengths? So here it is. It's called single-pointedness, the first of the 4 yogas. Let's carry on. So now we finished with that one. That's all I had to say. He has a lot more to say. That's all I'm going to say about the first of the 4 yogas. But that was really clear, right? Then we go to the second, and that covers the stage of the Mahayana path of accumulation and preparation. He gives a lot of details about the 4 stages of preparation and so forth. I'm not going there. You can read it. But then we go to the second of the 4 yogas, and that is freedom from elaboration, conceptual elaboration. So we covered that. What he says, and now much more briefly. If you relate to emptiness without intellectual fabrication, that is, your realization of emptiness is totally non-conceptual. That is the experiential freedom from conceptual elaborations. That's the second yoga. From the very nature of the arising of the clear, immaculate, unborn, ultimate reality of the mind. Perfect samadhi manifestly realizes the essential nature of your own mind, which is like space, free of the conceptual elaborations. So this is it. That's why this corresponds to the Mahayana path of seeing, corresponds to becoming an Arya Bodhisattva, corresponds in Dzogchen to a fully matured Vidyadhara, corresponds to the, direct perception of ultimate reality. That's it. It's all converging in on this. The direct, unmediated realization of emptiness, but if this is Mahāmudrā, from the perspective of Rigpa. Right? Not simply the subtle mind. Then we go to one taste. The homogeneous taste of your conduct during the post-meditative state. The homogeneous taste of your conduct during the post-meditative state without interruption due to conditions is the one taste of experience. This is now, you might recall, this is the second to the 7th of the bhumis. You have 10 bhumis. First one, already got that, freedom from conceptual elaboration. This is the 3rd yoga, one taste. From the 2nd to the 7th, all the impure bhumis up to the 7th. And this is where the kind of difference, the qualitative difference between being in meditative equipoise and post-meditative state dissolves away. So it's one taste, right? That's what he said right here. The homogeneous taste, the one taste of your conduct during the post-meditative state without interruption due to conditions is the one taste of experience. Although a variety of phenomena appear, this is another spin on one taste. Although a variety of phenomena appear, they are of the one taste of the ultimate reality of your own mind. And all dualities, such as oneself and others, and samsara and nirvana, are of one taste. You read that and you know this is viewing reality from the perspective of Rigpa. Because that's not what it looks like from the coarse or the subtle mind. Samsara is samsara. It's empty of inherent nature, but it's still samsara. And nirvana is nirvana. Empty, but it's nirvana, and they're not the same at all. From the perspective of Rigpa, you see all these appearances, as he says, whatever appearances arise, they're of one taste of the ultimate reality of your mind. You see them from the perspective of Rigpa as all being equally pure, equally the spontaneous outflow, effulgences of your own pristine awareness. Whatever they are, big picture from the hell realms to the pure lands, all of one taste equally manifesting, equally pure, displays of your own pristine awareness. This is one taste. This is big time one taste. And only possible from that perspective. And of course, it's the one taste of oneself and others. So we spoke about equanimity. Here's transcendent equanimity, right? And the one taste of samsara and nibbana. So this is definitely deep into Mahamudra territory. We have the final one and we'll break right on time. The attainment of the state of spiritual awakening is free. This is now the non-meditation, the fourth yoga. The attainment of the state of spiritual awakening is free of the previous mental formations of taintless karma in the mind, free of the malady of subtle, latent predispositions. In other words, the final obscurations are evaporating away. Free of karma, that is, of the nature of mind. And in an inconceivable transition, it is free of the appearance of transference into death. You're moving beyond the whole scope of birth and cessation, arising and cessation. Beyond. That is non-meditation, for it is the culmination. This corresponds to now the pure bhumis and into perfect enlightenment itself. The pure bhumis are 8, 9, and 10, pure of all mental afflictions. Only the subtle cognitive obscurations are to be dispelled, and then there's perfect enlightenment itself, the culmination of the path. And on these pure bhumis and to the culmination, wherever you look in terms of is and is not, the ultimate reality of your mind perpetually arises as the clear light, ungrounded in anything, such as an object or agent of meditation. I'm going to read that sentence again. Wherever you look in terms of is and is not, conceptual categories, the ultimate reality of your own mind perpetually arises as the clear light. It's nothing other than primordial consciousness, ungrounded in anything, such as an object or agent of meditation. All bifurcation of experience is not totally transcended. That is the contemplation of non-meditation. That's the final yoga. So that's the path. I've been telling you all along path. Here's the path that he just described it. That was quintessential, elaborate version. There it is. You got about 40, 50 pages of it in the text. And so final point at 6, and I'm not going to hold you much longer today. But a single point, and that is on the Mahayana path, with no reference to Vajrayana, Mahamudra, Dzogchen. We just saw Shantideva's account, and that was really, I thought, spectacularly clear of realizing the emptiness of your own mind. And so if that's your practice, if your practice, you've achieved shamatha, you're unifying your shamatha with that type of investigation, realizing the empty nature of your mind, you're cultivating bodhicitta, you're enacting the deeds, the way of life of a bodhisattva. So you're working on that level, bodhisattvayana, which means you're operating out of your coarse mind on occasion, but subtle mind, shamatha, right? If that's your platform, if that's your modus operandi, if that's your strategy, then, according to the classic Mahayana accounts, it will take you one countless eon to get through the path of accumulation and preparation. One countless eon, from the beginning of the small stage of the path of accumulation up to the path of seeing. One countless eon. That's an awful lot of lifetimes, right? Now here in Mahamudra, in Vajrayana in general, in Mahamudra and Dzogchen in particular, they speak of moving through those first two paths in a matter of years. And compared to one incalculable eon, I mean, there's just like wild difference, almost inconceivable difference. So, what is it? I'm not going to go into stage regeneration completion for right now. I'm just going to say for the Mahamudra, the straight Mahamudra Dzogchen approach, that which super propels you. I mean, it's like warp drive. Really, it's not a bad analogy. Here we are. I think our satellites, or rockets out there, about 35,000 miles an hour, isn't it? I think it's about 35,000 miles an hour. That's about as good. That gives you escape velocity, gets you out, and then you can head it off to Mars, head it off to some distant planet. I think it's 35,000 miles an hour. It would be very fast for a race car, but as slow as a retarded snail on sleeping tablets in terms of getting across the galaxy. You know, I mean, the nearest planet that they think might be habitable, 40 light years away. Sounds like that's really close, considering that you can look into deep space and see 13 billion light years away. 13 billion and 40? This is like in your face. You know, like it's only 40 light years away. Just reach out and pluck it. Except that would take millions of years, given our current technology. So you'd really have to slip into Star Trek. Okay, whatever his name was, warp drive. Yes, Captain. Otherwise, you never get anywhere. You're just kind of like inching along, you know. But you'd have to have those black holes or warp drive or something to ever make this real. Well, this is warp drive. This is warp drive. And the black hole is Rigpa. The warp drive is you're actually making your absolute top priority from the first day and all the way from the beginning, middle, and end. Ascertain Rigpa, ascertain Rigpa, ascertain Rigpa. That's what everything is about. All for one, one for all. Ascertain Rigpa. Cut through to Rigpa. And then you take awareness as your path. You take awareness onto the path. So it's first you take your ordinary mind, your impure mind as the path. That gets you to substrate consciousness. Then you take ultimate reality onto the path. That leads you to the realization of the empty nature of your mind. Good. But now to really progress along the path, in warp drive, you then have to cut through your subtle mind. Cut through your conventional mind, cut through your samsaric mind. You have to cut through that conditioned mind to Rigpa. And then Rigpa is your path. And that's warp drive. And that cuts down, countless eon into years. I never thought of that analogy. I do like it, I have to say. So there it is. And that's path. That's how the path becomes feasible. It's all about Rigpa. If you're following a straight Mahāmudrā route within the Kagyu tradition, you will almost certainly augment your practice of Mahāmudrā with state regeneration, such as Vajrayogini is a very strong practice. Hevajra Chakrasambhata, very strong in the Kagyu tradition. Others as well, but Vajrayogini is very strong. State regeneration, state of completion, good enough. That would provide you with this, cutting through, on the stage of completion, cutting through to the indwelling mind of clear light. And then you apply that to Mahāmudrā, right? Or you have all 6 dharmas of Naropa. Those are all stage of completion practices, right? That assumes, if you're really concerned with path and don't want to just say, I'm a practitioner of the dharmas of Naropa, big deal. If this is going to be part of a path, then you will have achieved robustly the stage of regeneration in, for example, Vajrayogini practice. And on that basis, then you would venture into the 6 dharmas of Naropa, and you would complement that with your Mahāmudrā practice. Then you could start talking about, zipping along. So on that note, I heard from a good source, I think, and Ursel is my witness. When I hear something, I say it's a good source. It's probably right. In that case, I happen to be. But I heard from a good source that not too long ago, decades ago, but not centuries ago, a few decades ago, there was one woman, a Tibetan woman, living in Sikkim. And her husband was, I think, in the government, something like that. Her husband had a kind of an ordinary occupation. But she is a very, very dedicated practitioner herself. I think her husband passed away, so they freed her up to take care of hubby and got to just devote herself full-time to practice. And she achieved rainbow body. Vajrayogini, by way of Vajrayogini practice. So tomorrow we'll just finish off the cherry on the cake. A little dedication of merit, quickly, we'll move right through that. But now there's a vision, right? You have a vision of the path. And I say this because what happens if we die tomorrow? If somebody dies tomorrow, I could, when the retreat's a little bit short. Anybody can die any time. So what happens if you die before you've achieved Shamatha, before you've achieved the yoga of single-pointedness, before you've achieved any of these? What happens if you're out, heart attack, whatever, and you're gone? Well, if all you're really thinking about is achieving Shamatha, then you have some leftover business. You go to the bardo and live a virtuous life, let's imagine. then, and the prayers are there, the dedications are there, then your karma will propel you into circumstances where you can achieve shamatha. Big deal. That's it? That's it? That's what you wanted? That's what it was really all about? You wanted to achieve shamatha? So you don't get it in this lifetime, you got snuffed out, you achieve it in the next lifetime, and then you say, oh, I'm happy, 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 bliss, luminosity, non-conceptually, oh, yay. Then you die. Then you just wander around as before, because it didn't take you one hair's breadth onto the path, right? So how can you see whether you're going to go slow or fast, over which we have no control? All we can do is do our best. What's the most we can ensure in terms of really proceeding along the path here, without reference to Pure Lands, really just proceeding on the path, focusing on the path? What would keep us on track? What would keep us coming on back, whether it's from year to year in this lifetime, where we're born and die every night, or from lifetime to lifetime? What would keep us on track? That we keep on coming back to unfinished business, that leto, that leftover, remember? And if you have even that degree of understanding of the path, that it culminates in perfect enlightenment of a Buddha, with the culmination of the yoga of non-meditation, and that's how you get there. Single-pointed, free of conceptual elaboration, one taste, non-meditation, Buddhahood. And there it is, the path in the palm of your hand. You can always add more details at your leisure. And if you set your sights on that and said, I'm not satisfied, hello universe, hello Buddhas, hello me, I'm not satisfied until I've proceeded along the culmination of that path. I'm not satisfied, I'm not done. That's what I want, to go all the way through to the end. And that's what my motivation is, that's what my practice is about, and that's what I dedicate my merit to. If that's what you're doing, that will be the hook. Let alone the hook of compassion of the Guru and refuge and all of that. That'll be the hook. It'll bring you back. It'll bring you back. And if the virtue is there, the merit, the good ethics is there, it'll bring you back again and again and again to those teachers you need to meet, the conducive environment, the opportunities to practice, the freedom and the opportunity. It'll keep on bringing you back until you're finished. So that's why spending half an hour on these higher stages. You have some vision there. And if one doesn't have faith in it, then just relax and find something else to have faith in. Right? Everybody has faith in something. But if you do have faith in it, and you arouse the aspiration and so forth, that there will keep you on track until you're finished. Right? But in this lifetime, everything is here. All the pieces are collected, right? For all of the stages. You may very easily go beyond anything I can teach you. I can easily imagine that. But then we have these other magnificent teachers. A young Dzogchen Rinpoche. Outgrow what I can offer you. No problem. But there are other teachers, who have much deeper realization than I do. Maybe all teachers, I don't know. But, they're there. They're still there. They're even young ones. The young Dzogchen Rinpoche, I was so happy to hear. He's really turning out well. He's one of my teachers from last life. I translated for him teaching also. He taught the 6 yogas of Naropa. I translated for him then. He was awesome in his last life. I've heard he turned out really well in this lifetime too. Young Ling Rinpoche has turned out well. The Karmapa is turning out well. One after another. So this bodes very well, that at least for another generation or so, there will be really great teachers. Dzogchen Rinpoche himself, in that lifetime, didn't spend years and years in retreat. He came in loaded, ready to serve, and boom, he just spent the next 88 years or so, 84 years, I think, just serving. Didn't need to go off for 20 years. Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche, yeah, he spent 17 years in retreat. Kalu Rinpoche, 12 years. That's common. Some of them, if they're so right, they don't necessarily have to go into long retreat, but they do have to blow the dust off the stone. The wish-fulfilling jewel of their mind. And I think that's what Jata Rinpoche was saying. He didn't say, oh, by the way, you have to spend 20 years in retreat. He did say, you have to go back to the basics, the preliminary practices and so forth, and I would add my commentary, just if there's any dust on your jewel, blow the dust off. So there it is. But still, in this historical era, on this planet, in these circumstances, the teachers are there. The teachings are there. We need to create some more conducive environments. As Ursel and a number of others know, India's tough. It's just tough to be there long-term in retreat. visa problems, health problems, water problems, parasite problems. I had a rat chewing on me when I was in retreat. I didn't like it. Let alone having hepatitis 3 times, I could really do without that. And so, create conducive environment. Give us half a chance here. We don't have to struggle with the elements all the time. And let's see what we can do. Wallace.